I guess we're super good to start. So everyone who just left the fashion stage because you thought that it's over, we're just getting started. We have some big announcements here today. We have some big people out here. I want to start by saying that it's super special to be back to Lisbon, to be back to NFC Lisbon, to see so many familiar faces, people who are coming back to back, people who are learning about digital fashion for the first time. Being here, being with friends, being with all of you is super special. My name is Nikki. I am founder of Digital Couture Summit. I'm fashion advisor. What I do, I connect interesting people in traditional fashion with tech fashion. And this is exactly what we're going to do here today. Because with me, I have arguably the most interesting people you're going to see on this fashion stage. Facts only. On my left, I have wonderful Pedro, who is representing Solana Foundation, who came specifically for the announcement today, who came specifically to connect with these amazing ladies, starting with Alexandra Maslova, co-founder, co-CEO of SEAMM, the first very full, only fashion Phygital marketplace, here to make a big announcement today, as well as my very much bestie by now, should I say, the queen of Web3 space, Quinn herself. The lady has been rocking it on fashion stage with me for a couple of years now.
Yes.
Who is representing the very powerhouse of Web3 media, DASTAN. Right now, CEO of DASTAN, Quinn, are here. We're going to talk about fashion. We're going to talk about digital fashion. Some of you already understood that no free NFT giveaway. Sorry for that. But before we jump into the topic, I would love to give the word to Alexandra, the person why, the company why we all gathered here today, to make the big announcement official, to kick off our conversation here today. Alex, please.
Thanks, Nikki. Thanks for introducing me. And I'm incredibly happy to be here today with the leading media Web3 and Solana Foundation. Thank you, guys. Today is a very, very important day for us. It's a big announcement. So I'll tell you a bit more about what SEAMM does, who we are, and what we're about to present today. So SEAMM is a digital fashion platform, and SEAMM always had their goal to merge Web3 and Web2 worlds. So we introduced two main products in the last couple of years, a fully Phygital marketplace, as Nikki mentioned, and a white label SaaS platform. And today, we have big news. We are ready to introduce our key product, SEAMM's Digital Product Passport on Solana Foundation, which is an incredible big step for us. And we believe that this product has a lot of value to bring to all, to brands, to consumers, and to us as a company. We are ahead of very exciting times. Thank you.
I will be frank with you. I'm having huge goosebumps, right? We've been working on this one for a long time. We've been working closely with Solana Foundation for some time. We've been working even longer with SEAMM when we decided that we're going to go with DPPs, not just DPPs, but maximize the most utility-focused DPPs on the blockchain, not just the blockchain, but Solana blockchain. And I even remember your reaction, Quinn, when I share with you and the whole Radio Decrypt family. So I'm having goosebumps, also taking into account that a lot of friends are here today with us, people with whom we're going to share panels and talks tomorrow, people who are just here to support us. Some of you we've met in the last couple of hours. It feels super special. It feels super good to be here today. And finally, after months of work, I can say we're here to enjoy it. We're here to talk about it. We're here to have fun during NFC Lisbon with this announcement, with this wonderful group of people. But just before we jump into the topic of SEAMM building on Solana and SEAMM introducing DPP product, can we talk about Solana for a while? I mean, the very first question I got when I entered the venue today was, man, are you on Solana? And I was like, man, I don't know you, but yeah, I'm on Solana. So I feel this is the sentiment around Solana lately. Solana has been this engine, this steam engine that has been driving, has been pushing the blockchain, the Web3 space for the last almost a year. All the hype has been created on Solana. All the value now is also built on Solana. So Pedro, I want to start with you. I want to ask you a question of what is going on? Guys, how are you doing this? Like, what is going on and why Solana became perhaps the word of Web3 in 2024?
Thank you, Nikki. Hello, everyone. My name is Pedro Miranda. I lead the creator economy team here at the Solana Foundation on the business development side. First and foremost, extremely excited to be here. We're super excited that SEAMM is building on the Solana blockchain. Ultimately, they have an expertise in digital fashion that is almost unmatched and is bringing a new edge into the Web3 space. So we're extremely happy about that. I think before we jump in, what is Solana and what is the Solana Foundation? So the Solana Foundation is a nonprofit that ultimately coordinates decentralization, adoption, and security measures on the Solana network. Solana, the blockchain, is the network that SEAMM is permissionlessly joining, high performance, low cost, and cheap. In terms of how we do it, right? The word "we" is extremely interesting because I would essentially fixate on two things. One is the tech, which I think we could talk about, right? We really want to focus on why actually build a successful business on Solana without incentives, right? We were talking backstage, and ultimately why SEAMM chose Solana is because of the UI, UX, and the tech. We just want to provide amazing tools, and you guys take the business aspect to it. We're clearly not the digital fashion experts, as you can tell. They are, right? And we essentially want to keep it that way. But second, it's the community, right? It's amazing projects such as yourselves that make it net positive and net valuable to build in the Solana ecosystem. And that really creates an interesting flywheel where we can just connect interesting people together, offer technical advice, and then you all essentially finish the puzzle and make a Picasso happen, which I'm sure will happen today. So the secret sauce, so to speak, is tech and community, with we being a very minimal involvement here, which we're extremely proud of.
I feel like you are the most humble member of Solana Foundation team. Am I right?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, like, talking about community, we have Quinn out here. I do believe that Quinn joined the digital fashion space without even realizing that it was digital fashion space back in the days. I'm talking specifically about G-Money's Admit 1, and you got what, number 3, number 7?
Yeah, I got number 10.
Or 10. So
Yeah.
3 plus 7. I love it.
You got
I
it.
love quick maths.
Yeah.
You've been in this space for a while.
Yep.
And I mean, you being one of the OGs in terms of community development, in terms of organizing, participating at these events, now being a long time with Rag Radio as well, DASTAN, as we call it now.
Yep.
You know Solana pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
You've been following Solana for a while.
Oh, yeah.
So what is your take on this secret sauce for Solana success? Why are we discussing SEAMM choosing to build on Solana, not on Tezos, not on Polygon? Like, what would be your take before I give the word to the lady herself who will answer to all of us.
The lady of the hour, and huge congratulations to you, my dear. Yes, hi guys, I'm Quinn Button. I have been around in this space for a while. And it's a really good question, actually. Like Solana has been around for quite a bit, right? Definitely since, I originally invested into Bitcoin and Ethereum back in 2014, just thought it was really interesting. And then my background is consumer behavior. I have a Ph.D. in consumer behavior research. And so understanding the transactions and the behavior on different chains, like Solana, it's what, 3,000 transactions per second? Like it's the speed, right? And technology has its moments, right? Like where maybe it's not ready for it yet. I remember in 2021 when digital fashion and Phygital and the buzzwords of metaverse were all being discussed, but it was really difficult to build on certain main nets, right? It was really expensive. It was really clunky. But now we have different chains, and Solana in the last, 8 months to a year has really captured the heart of the culture. Like that's what's so fascinating to me too, which is why I think it's a fantastic partnership in general, because, you've seen a lot of meme coins. We have MemeCon going on over here behind us, and, everything is really being built on Solana, but that's a real testament to the foundation and their dedication to really making this easier for builders like Alexandra to actually build sustainable ecosystems for people so that they really don't have to pay a lot of money. And when it comes down to consumer behavior, like that's the secret sauce, right? We really want people to adopt this technology, whether they know it or not. And Solana is doing a fantastic job of doing that. And then that coming together with the EU regulations that are coming out very soon, the digital product, physical product. Yeah. It's, that regulation is pushing innovation forward. It's pushing this space to have its moment finally, right? We've been talking about digital fashion and how the fashion industry needs to become more sustainable. How does that actually happen? There's a whole AR feature to what, I'm sure she's going to talk about as well. It's very, very exciting. And it's fantastic that now you actually have this foundation, this blockchain that actually allows this for it to happen. And you've got the right person to be able to come together and actually make it happen. And the culture, I think, is one thing that cannot be discounted as well. I mean, we feel it. We're all here. We feel the culture, the passion of the art, the fashion, the gaming, everything coming together. And it's all really being built on top of foundations like Solana. And so I'm really very excited to see what comes next.
I mean, you just mentioned regulations, and this is a huge topic because, frankly speaking, at the end of the day, this is the only reason why we're having this conversation here today. I know that we're going to come to this topic a bit later on in our conversation today, but I would love to kick it off in terms of DPP announcement with asking you, Alexandra, the following question. You came from a very traditional fashion space where you spend almost half of your life, so you know how it works. You know what traditional brands are looking in terms of digitalization, innovation. At the same time, for the last 2 years, SEAMM has been evolving and pushing the boundaries of what innovation of fashion should look like. So you have perspectives from both sides. Why, when we're talking about DPPs, why, when we're talking about innovation fashion in general, we're using word blockchain. Just before we go specifically to Solana, let's talk about blockchain in general.
So that's a good question. Why blockchain? So I need to go several steps back and explain actually, again, why we ended up building DPPs on blockchain. So we introduced a lot of cool features for the brands. As mentioned, our main goal was always to show brands how easy digital fashion is, how they can use it, how they can benefit from it. And we started with things like AR try-ons, game skins, 3D rendering, all the basic features that all of you guys here are aware of. And our natural step was introducing digital product passports, because recently the European Union introduced a new regulation that is about to come into effect as early as 2026, 2027. If we think about it, it's just in 18 months. It's nothing. So the brands need to adapt to it now, and we are here to help them. So even though the rule and the regulation doesn't mean the brands need to be on blockchain. We took it several steps further. So Digital Product Passport is a digital twin for a physical item, a unique identifier that has all the information about the product, starting with where the product was produced up until the disposal. And it's important to make that journey transparent and traceable. And the only way we see that this can go forward is with a blockchain. That's the only way we can guarantee to the brands and to the consumers that this is something they can trust and everything held in one place. That's the main reason we went for blockchain.
We're having such an important but also such a heavy conversation that my chair is constantly going down. I feel the weight that is on my shoulders, but with every question, with every answer, I feel that this weight is going away from me, so I'm feeling much better out here. Just to put this in perspective, in less than 2 years from now, absolutely everything you are wearing in terms of clothing will need to have some kind of products information, which right now is we are referring to as DPPs, digital product passports. There is no such a thing that it should be on the blockchain, at least for now. I know that SEAMM is also closely working with some of consortiums right now to make sure that blockchain is one of the ways, the most transparent one, the most efficient one. Once again, Alex just share with you why it should be on the blockchain. It will be one of the ways. Obviously, it can be like an old-fashioned way, Excel file where brand is having everything, but I don't think that it's about us, right? Blockchain. Okay, it's transparent, it's efficient, it's sustainable, it's innovation. Why specifically Solana? Yes, we had this conversation for a long time. We've been seeing Solana Foundation members all over the world, and now we're having this announcement out here. How are you feeling that you're announcing your DBPs, not just on the blockchain, but specifically on Solana blockchain?
I feel incredibly happy. There are several reasons why we went for Solana. We had a choice, of course, but for us, the main thing was to make it scalable. As we know, if all the brands will be required to have DPPs, it means that we need to scale it. And that needs to happen quick. And it should not be expensive. And that's exactly what Solana can provide. So scalable is cheap, it's quick. And the other important thing is user-friendly. And we share the same values. So I'm super happy. We already started to introduce digital product passports for brands, having very smooth transaction. I'm happy.
Talking about being happy, I feel the energy coming from the man on my left, and I feel like you're equally happy as Alexandra is, or maybe even more, because the smile on your face is not going away, which I love big time. As far as I know, this is the very first time when a publicly known company, a publicly known fashion brand is launching something on Solana. Most probably there have been some smaller cases, but something publicly known, something big for the first time. And this is exactly how we had our conversation with Solana Foundation back in the days that, hey, there is Ethereum. A lot of brands are out there. We have Galileo protocol. We have Aura blockchain. We have Polygon as well. But like Solana is here. A lot of stuff has been built lately on Solana. The number of active users, number of new wallets, new addresses created on Solana is growing day by day, week by week, months by months for a long time. So why don't we do something in terms of fashion so that more brands can follow? Brands know that Solana is safe and Solana is here to support you. So the question I have to you, my friend, would be as follows. Do you feel that Solana is at the very right stage of time right now to welcome more fashion, luxury, maybe even beauty brands to join the space? I mean, there is a lot of cases starting with LVMH House, Prada Group, Dolce & Gabbana. There's like plenty of cases, specifically in France, Italy, some cases in the UK, the US, obviously, of traditional fashion and luxury brands being on blockchain for many years now. And with this big announcement finally happening on Solana, how are you feeling about more brands coming, joining you, and building on Solana?
Yeah, it's a great question. First, I hope I'm not happier than you, but I'm obviously pretty happy. It's interesting because you mentioned why blockchain, right? And I think to reverse engineer, the question that we have internally, we always ask when we're talking to a project, regardless if it's LVMH or a scrappy startup, is why blockchain? That's actually the filter for us in terms of how much we want to lean in and how much we actually want to engage. So I think the happiness right now also comes from alignment in terms of the values of actually understanding the value prop of the technology, reverse engineering the problem from, hey, every single person in this room will actually have a digital twin and it can be tokenized on Solana, in a few years. That's something that we get excited about, right? So, there's 3 technological advancements that we're excited about today that can actually onboard these brands. One is FireDancer, which is an independent validator client that's currently being developed by Jump Crypto. On testnet, it's hitting 1 million transactions per second. So when you think about scalability in terms of, people trading Phygitals and tipping each other, right? That's accommodating. 2 is NFT compression, right? The ability to mass mint NFTs for low cost. So 1 million NFTs for 5 SOL, or 1 million t-shirts or watches for 5 SOL. And the third is token extensions. So the ability, we talked about regulations, the ability to issue permissioned tokens on a permissionless network. So you can actually bake regulations natively into the asset on the metadata. So for passports, if the EU changes the regulations, for example, you could natively bake that in a rule set of an asset. So in order to transfer it, you need to meet certain requirements, for example. It all goes back to the thesis of why blockchain and what problems are we actually is the Solana blockchain solving for you all as a business. So from that thesis, right, when you talk about the LVMHs and other fashion brands and luxury houses, we're absolutely ready to work with them. And we've been talking to a number of them. It's more so a question of, are they trying to solve a problem that's actually fixed by a highly performant blockchain like Solana?
I love it. And once again, taking into account the fact that DPP it's not such a new term, but it's definitely new in a way that more customers, like day-to-day fashion lovers, will learn in the upcoming years. I do believe answering the question, why blockchain, why Solana, you just did it perfectly. I love it. Quinn, I see that you are smiling as well. I see that you have something to share with us. Please go ahead.
Oh, I loved your answer. I love the fact that you're asking, and that everyone should be asking at this stage, why blockchain? Because that really drills down into the problems that we are solving, and that if there is a real solution that blockchain specifically can fix, if you start with that and you reverse engineer it, like that is where we get to scale and to growth. And I think Solana is doing it absolutely right. And it's fantastic that you guys are supporting builders, in various different industries. That you're not pegging it into one specific category. And the transaction speed, the more that scales, the more excited I can't wait for my family to own certain things, like going back to even G Money, right? With the 90cc. I cannot wait for my family to actually own something that is on the blockchain and they don't even know it. And I say, hey, by the way, do you know about this, right? And then it unlocks certain secret fun things too. So it's really amazing that you can absolutely update the metadata for the regulations as that evolves as well, because it is relatively unclear. This is all new territory, and that the consumer doesn't have to see that. right? Like that's a real problem that you're solving. But then you can also end up rewarding these customers as well along the line. And that's something that uniquely blockchain can actually track, trace. And that's very, very exciting. And I couldn't be more thrilled for what's ahead for you guys next, genuinely.
We mentioned the word regulations at least 5 times already in our panel talk. I feel like, Alex, this is a time we should share with the audience the logic behind DPPs on the blockchain, the logic behind fashion brands wanting and needing to have DPP. So can you share with us in a nutshell what the upcoming regulation is about and why everyone into fashion should care about it already now?
Sure. So the main idea for introducing digital product passports for the fashion industry is to increase sustainability efforts and to help consumers make more informed choices about what they're actually purchasing. Are you sure the t-shirt you purchased is made from recycled materials? How can you trust the brand? Where can you find that information if it's not on the label? How can you be sure where it was produced? Actually, which factory made it? Who was behind it all? So Digital Product Passport allows us to track it down until the very first creation about where the material was sourced from. So every single detail. And the value of a DPP is very clear. It's clear for both sides, for the consumers and for the brands. Just several examples for consumers. So imagine you purchase a garment and you cut off the label. I'm sure many of you have done it. It's uncomfortable. You cut it off. So you actually don't know how to take care of it. If you have a digital product passport and you claim the ownership of it, you can check that information in one place. The other idea is like, as I mentioned, you purchased it. You want to know where it was produced. How transparent is the brand? What are they standing behind? You can also find that information there. On top of that, there's some really exciting features that are about to be introduced okay, imagine you bought it on resale on eBay and you want to know who owned it before. It can be, anybody. I don't know, it can be Drake. It can be anybody you like. So you can track it there. You can see who had it before you got it. And the whole journey, which collection is it from? Is it a special drop? Is it actually real or is it fake? So all that information in one place. I think it's super easy for users. You don't need to track it, trace it. You can just see it all in one place. For brands, the main value is like, okay, what do all brands want? They want to monetize and they want to know their consumer better. So that's exactly what a digital product passport will give you. So you can monetize it better. Again, I'm going to go straight to examples. So a brand sells an item with a digital product passport. The user claims the ownership and the brand decides that, okay, how are we going to monetize it? Okay, so the user resells it again on any resale platform and the brand can get a cashback. So it's up to 20% on some platforms. That's like value. The other thing is everybody is interested in analytics. So digital product passport can provide you with deeper analytics about your customer. Not only they will know who is the customer who claimed the item, but they will be able to check, okay, what other things does the customer like? What else does he buy? What's his behavior? And the longer we have digital product passport, looking into the nearest even future, the more information we're going to get. And that's just 2 examples. The other one, not the last one, but the last one I'm going to mention now is loyalty. So whenever somebody claims the item and claims the digital product passport, they kind of automatically become part of the loyalty program of the brand. And that's a really valuable thing for brands. It's not just asking them to go and subscribe to your newsletter on your e-commerce platform or to go and sign a form in the physical store. Kind of automatically become part of it. So I think those are pretty good values for both sides. What do you think?
Definitely the loyalty development on the blockchain, the community development, it has been something for a long time in making. take a look, for example, at Dolce & Gabbana, at Prada, what they're doing with their monthly drops. Louis Vuitton is doing pretty okay recently in their Web3 activity on the blockchain. Obviously, it's not only about this, but it's also about how brand can make some money in a new way. Because at the end of the day, it's all about money for big brands. At the end of the day, it's for them how to attract new customers, how to attract their target audience. In this case, we're also talking about Gen Z, and I feel like blockchain has been one of these keywords for Gen Z lately, as well as how to make money, how to have your product secured, how to have your operations as efficient as possible. And a lot of brands recently have been thinking about sustainable aspect of production, of operations, of any interaction with their customers. And I do believe, taking into account a mix of everything that you three just said to us, it's a good conclusion why it's blockchain. It's a good conclusion why it should be on the blockchain. But I still have this question for you. Are we at the stage where it's blockchain that needs brands to come? Or are we already at this stage where it's brands who need blockchain? And I do believe this is a question directly centered around mass adoption. Is it still around the new technology, or is the technology has proven itself and now it's about the brands being brave enough and taking their turn? Quinn, I see that you're ready. Shoot it.
That's a really great question. A thought-provoking question that I think I'll probably be thinking about later on, even tonight. But in 2021 is when I really fully went all into the space professionally. I used to be the VP of growth for NFT NYC and this company called NFT Cred, where we worked with various different brands and companies. And at the time, the thesis was, let's onboard as many brands as we could possibly bring into this space, and that will reach mass adoption. Well, we're here a couple years later, and it's a little bit different, right? We've learned a lot of lessons. Some brands have come in, have been successful, some have not been so successful. But I think that it really comes back down to like the crux of like when technology and culture and these brands all kind of come together, and we really start solving these problems and reverse engineering the why does one need a blockchain? Now, there's obviously a blockchain, if you think about it, strip it back to its very basic. What is it? It's just a public ledger that shows you the transactions of every single thing that ever happens, right? And that's just a database. So I'm a researcher, so I love databases. And that was the thing that really got me interested into this space in the first place. Was imagine the amount of data that one can actually glean when consumers are transacting on a public ledger, right? All of a sudden, I now understand, like I worked with Coach. That was one of the very first companies that I ever worked with, and getting them on, and we got them on the Polygon blockchain, right? Why did we choose Polygon? Well, at the time, it was very easy to integrate into certain things, right? It was pretty fast. It's not as fast compared to today's standards. Shout out to Solana for definitely breaking those records. But I think what's interesting is that, you know, these brands came in, they were learning. There was a huge learning curve in this. And now what I think is that genuinely we're going to have to recircle back to why blockchain and why not a decentralized ledger technology? Why not a private database? And there's actually a ton of reasons why a public ledger is actually, there's one, it's just a nice, trustworthy, I can look it up. I have no questions about what's going on. No one can delete it. It's immutable, right? I actually know that this is mine and that Drake owned my previous, the item previously before me. I think that the more that brands kind of accept and adopt this like building in public, this transparency, the transparency of a blockchain, and the faster that blockchains get in terms of transactions, the more you're going to see brands and builders and entrepreneurs come in regardless, because it is the one solution that they've been looking for. And I'll end it with this too. I think that the one thing that you'll hear a lot about this week as well is AI, and what's the only solution that really actually checks and verifies what's actually made, which is human AI, when it was actually created in this blockchain. So the check and balance of the future technology that's in parallel with us is also going to push it in the right direction as well.
I should say that authenticity in traditional fashion is very sexy. And I do believe bringing this authenticity to the blockchain space, to digital fashion, it's a very logical and very smart move to do so. And I do believe this is exactly as you just said, the first thing that blockchain is offering to you as a user, as a fashion lover, to be able to identify, to be able to have this authentic piece, and then decide what do you want to do with it, how do you want to treat the piece that was produced that way, owned by that person, or whatsoever. Alex, I see that you are ready to answer the question by yourself, and also, I know that tomorrow you're going to have a very solo presentation of SEAMM DPP solution. So I know that you're going to share with us some more insights, technically, how it works, how it looks like. But before we jump into it, is it about blockchain or is it about brands choosing the blockchain?
I would say it's about the blockchain from our side. Again, that's coming from a traditional fashion background. For us, this whole transaction should be really smooth, and brands don't even need to know that side of the business. For them, they just need to come to us, tell us what they need, and we just need to sort it. And from our side, we go to Solana, and Solana does it for us. As simple as that.
I mean, Solana one love. That's what we already understood from this panel. Nevertheless, Pedro, you are the last one to answer the question to close our panel today. So no pressure at all. Is it about technology for you, you coming from tech world, or do you believe that now it's about those brands seeing that Solana is efficient, Solana is here to stay, and Solana is to help you. So come and join us.
It's so funny. We've been having internal debates, I think, around the time you're working with Coach around what is the value of working with the large brands, right? Do we actually aggressively go out and win over big names and whatnot? And we tried that for a while, but we noticed the conversations where there's a value split. When you talk to some people, they value digital ownership and they value self-custody, and then other people didn't really care about that yet. And I think it's ultimately because technology is just an expression of culture, right? The people there in these roles were ultimately not interested in it, or their customers weren't interested in it. But it's really special right now, and becoming increasingly so, to find people in positions of decision making that actually value digital ownership and self-custody. Two examples, we work with two amazing brands, one of which is ASICS, that dropped a bunch of shoes specifically to Solana and actually embraced composability. So they actually reached out to a bunch of other ecosystem teams building on Solana and gave out free ASICS NFTs to them and say, hey, if you use this NFT in our game, you're going to get a power up, right? And this is a huge Japanese company with a ton of bureaucracy. That's because they understand internally and externally what their customers and decision makers ultimately need and want, right? So I think the cop-out answer here is it depends on the culture. It depends on the values of the consumers and the decision makers. But I think ultimately we're coming from the perspective of blockchains were associated with scarcity for the longest time. And now, as our technology evolves with AI that unleashes a scale of abundance, our blockchains are scaling to that abundant era of digital technology that we're seeing today. And that's ultimately why teams such as SEAMM chose to build on Solana, and many more will do as well.
I mean, regardless whether you're looking for big brands right now or not, the fact is fact. You have one of these big brands right now, and the name of the brand is SEAMM. And today we made it official. So all we're left to do is to celebrate hard today, have a little of sleep, and come back tomorrow to enjoy the fashion stage with all of these people. Because us sharing this news today wouldn't be that interesting, wouldn't be that possible if it wouldn't be for the end users, for the people who are into fashion, for the people who are pushing the boundaries of digital fashion and want to learn more about it. So I want to say thank you to absolutely each and every one of you who join us today for this amazing journey. I want to say thank you to you, Pedro. Thank you to you, Alexandra. Thank you to you, Quinn, for joining me today on this amazing panel, amazing announcement. You guys are amazing. You guys are amazing. I am amazing. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the day.